There is one important detail in the way Lando Norris talks about the McLaren MCL40. He does not sound like a world champion who feels safe. Yes, Norris says the 2026 car still feels fast and still enjoyable, but almost every positive assessment is wrapped in caution. He refuses to draw performance conclusions, refuses to get pulled into lap time comparisons, and repeatedly stresses that these early tests are about understanding the car, not judging it. That is not defensive language, but an accurate reflection of a regulation reset. Norris openly admits that the MCL40 demands a different driving approach. In some areas, he even compares it to a Formula 2 car. That matters because in a new era, advantage no longer comes purely from natural speed, but from who adapts fastest. And in that context, being the reigning world champion offers no automatic protection. When Norris talks about his chances this season, he avoids hiding behind team optimism. He points directly to Mercedes looking very strong and to George Russell being viewed as the title favourite. That is a significant statement coming from the driver who just beat the best on the grid. Norris clearly sees Russell as a genuine threat, not a theoretical one, but the pressure does not come only from outside McLaren. Oscar Piastri, his teammate, led the championship for a significant part of last season and now returns with hard lessons learned and renewed motivation. In a car that is still evolving, small margins can quickly become decisive. So the key question is this: in a season defined by extreme adaptation demands and title threats from two directions, is Norris truly in the strongest position to defend his crown? If you want to understand where this battle could really be decided, make sure you're subscribed, because from here we're going to break down exactly what Norris is seeing and why it matters. From Norris's own perspective, the most important takeaway from McLaren's early running is not speed, but functionality. Speaking after the Barcelona shakedown, he was clear that the purpose of those days was to make sure the fundamentals were right. Sensors, power unit behaviour, gearbox operation, tyre understanding, these were the priorities. Just what we came here to do, Norris explained, adding that reliability was one of the most important things. In other words, McLaren was not trying to show its hand, it was trying to make sure it still had cards to play. That framing is critical. In previous seasons, early confidence often came from visible performance. This time, Norris is deliberately stepping away from that mindset. He admitted how easy it is for drivers to get caught up in comparisons, because competitiveness naturally pushes them to want reassurance through lap times. But he also made clear that those comparisons are largely meaningless at this stage. Barcelona was cold, conditions were unrepresentative, and every team was running its own program. Drawing conclusions from that, Norris suggested, would only create false confidence or unnecessary anxiety. What Norris does acknowledge is that the MCL40 behaves differently. He described needing to make little changes from his side to feel fully comfortable again, even though the car still felt like a proper race car. That comment becomes more revealing when paired with his later observation that the new generation F1 cars feel closer to Formula 2 in some respects. He said, "The way you have to drive them is different," and admitted he was not yet sure whether he liked that or not. This is not a throwaway remark. Norris is an F2 runner-up from 2018, and he understands exactly what that comparison implies. It suggests a car that is lighter, more responsive, but potentially less forgiving at the limit. He also stressed that Barcelona does not answer the most important questions. Open flowing corners in fourth and third gear are one thing. Street circuits, bumpy tracks, and slower layouts will be something else entirely. Bahrain, he said, would answer some of those unknowns. All of this paints a picture of a driver who is deliberately holding back judgment. Norris is not pretending the McLaren is flawed, but he is also not claiming it gives him an edge. Instead, he positions the season as one where learning speed may matter as much as outright pace. That framing fits with his broader mental state entering 2026. Norris has been open about how winning the 2025 title, changed his internal relationship with pressure. He said last season proved to himself that he had what it takes and that he no longer needs to question his ability. That confidence has not turned into bravado. Instead, it appears to have removed the need to convince himself through early results. He now talks about entering the season without expectations, because expectations, in his words, only create stress and anxiety for no reason. That mindset becomes particularly relevant when considering the competitive landscape Norris expects. He has been explicit that he still expects McLaren, Mercedes, Red Bull and Ferrari to form the leading group, but within that, he has already identified Mercedes as a standout from the early running. Already from that first test, Mercedes looked very strong, he said, placing them alongside Red Bull and Ferrari as immediate threats. More pointedly, Norris has no issue acknowledging George Russell as the bookmakers' favourite for the title. He even went further, saying he completely believes Russell will win a world championship at some point. That level of openness is unusual from a reigning champion, and it reflects genuine respect rather than mind games. Norris and Russell came into Formula One at a similar time, know each other well, and Norris described Russell as giddy with motivation after seeing Norris take the crown. This matters because Russell represents a very specific type of threat. If Mercedes has indeed started the new regulation era strongly, Russell could combine a stable platform with a driver who has spent several seasons refining his racecraft at the sharp end. Norris is not downplaying that. He is effectively saying that the fight for supremacy may already be tighter than many expected. Yet even that external pressure may not be Norris's most immediate concern. Inside McLaren, Oscar Piastri remains a constant variable. Norris has repeatedly acknowledged how tough they made life for each other in 2025. Piastri won 7 races, led the championship for much of the year, and only faded late in the season. Norris described that intra-team battle as an awkward dynamic unique to Formula One, where teammates must cooperate and compete simultaneously. What is different now is context. Piastri has spoken openly about using the winter break to reflect on both the highs and the painful moments of last season. He identified technical and driving-related lessons from races like Austin and Mexico, and spoke about making tweaks not just to performance, but to time management and how the team operates under pressure. Importantly, he highlighted how they race each other as a key area of focus. That should not be overlooked. In a season where the car itself is still being understood, internal clarity becomes crucial. Norris has expressed faith in Andrea Stella and Zak Brown to manage that dynamic. But faith does not remove tension. It only provides a framework for handling it. From Norris's perspective, the challenge is clear. He is entering a season where his own confidence is higher than ever, but where certainty is lower than it has been in years. The car feels fast, but unfamiliar. The team is strong, but not alone at the front. His closest rivals include a resurgent Mercedes led by a highly motivated Russell and a teammate who has already shown he can beat him on given weekends. Norris's approach suggests he understands that defending a title in this environment will not be about domination. It will be about accumulation, understanding the car faster than others, avoiding reliability traps, managing internal pressure without losing edge, and recognizing when to push and when to bank points. That is why his language matters so much. There is no attempt to control the narrative through bold claims. Instead, Norris presents the season as something that must be earned all over again. He talks about coming back to the McLaren Technology Centre, seeing the same faces and feeling the same determination. Not excitement, not celebration, determination. In many ways, that may be his greatest strength. The driver who once doubted himself now trusts his ability enough not to overreact. He knows bad weekends will happen, he knows rivals will be strong, and he knows the car will evolve. As Norris himself put it, when things go wrong now, he can tell himself, "I did it last year." That does not guarantee success in 2026, but it may give him the resilience needed to survive a season where margins are thinner than ever. So here is the real question. and it is not a comfortable one for McLaren fans or Norris supporters. If this season comes down to adaptation speed, internal pressure, and who makes the fewest mistakes while learning, does the reigning champion truly hold the advantage? Or could 2026 be the year where familiarity, not status, decides the outcome? Let me know what you think. Is Norris still the benchmark, or are Russell and Piastri better placed to capitalise on this reset? Drop your thoughts in the comments below.